I stared at my phone in disbelief, reading the message for the fifth time. My hands were trembling. Congratulations! You've been shortlisted for the Senior Marketing Strategist position. Interview tomorrow at 9 a.m. A job I hadn't even applied for, at one of the most prestigious companies in the city, where my brother Benjamin worked. I'm Leah, and that message would change everything I thought I knew about family loyalty. This is incredible, I exclaimed to my best friend Jasmine over FaceTime. But why such short notice? The interview's literally tomorrow morning. Maybe someone dropped out, Jasmine suggested, adjusting her glasses. Girl, this is your chance. You've been wanting to leave that soul-crushing agency for months. I nodded, already pulling up the company website. Benjamin must have recommended me. He's been there for 3 years now. A warm feeling spread through my chest. Despite our competitive childhood, maybe he finally saw my worth. The next morning, I arrived 45 minutes early, my portfolio polished and my navy blazer perfectly pressed. The lobby buzzed with energy, all glass and chrome and purpose. I smoothed my skirt for the 100th time when a tall man with silver hair approached. Ms. Watson, I'm Joseph from HR. Please follow me. The interview room felt colder than the Arctic. Joseph's expression remained frozen as he flipped through my portfolio, barely glancing at the award-winning campaigns I'd crafted. It says here you have experience in digital marketing, he said, his tone dripping with skepticism. But your resume shows gaps in social media strategy. I blinked. Actually, I led 3 viral campaigns last year. That's not what we've heard, he cut me off. We received some interesting feedback about your capabilities. My stomach dropped. Something wasn't right. The questions that followed were brutal, focusing on imaginary weaknesses and fabricated shortcomings. By the time I left the room, my confidence lay in shreds around my feet. Needing a moment to compose myself, I ducked into the bathroom on the executive floor. A wrong turn that would reveal everything. You should have seen her face, Benjamin's voice echoed from around the corner. When HR asked about those performance issues I mentioned, laughter followed. Man, that's cold, someone responded. Your own sister? Please. She's always been the golden child, thinking she's better than everyone else. Had to teach her a lesson, you know? Besides, we can't have her showing me up here too. My blood turned to ice. The portfolio I was clutching fell to the floor with a soft thud. Seriously though, the other voice continued, making up those complaints and arranging a fake interview. That's pretty harsh. It's called strategy, Benjamin replied smugly. Now she'll never try to get her foot in the door here again. I pressed my back against the cold wall, my heart hammering. The brother I'd grown up with, the one I'd helped through college breakups and career crises, had deliberately set me up to fail. My phone buzzed, a rejection email already. Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to pursue other candidates, Jasmine called minutes later as I sat in my car, trying to breathe normally. How did it go? Benjamin set me up. My voice cracked. He arranged a fake interview just to humiliate me. That snake, Jasmine's outrage crackled through the speaker. Please tell me you're not going to let him get away with this? I watched employees stream in and out of the building, my brother's words echoing in my head. The golden child. Had to teach her a lesson. My hands stopped shaking as a different kind of fire started burning in my chest. No, I said quietly. I'm not. What are you going to do? I straightened in my seat, watching Benjamin exit the building for his lunch break, laughing with his colleagues like he hadn't just betrayed his own sister. I'm going to prove him right, I said, my voice steady now. He thinks I'm better than everyone else. Fine. I'll show him exactly how much better I can be. And this time, I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for me. Now that's the Leah I know, Jasmine said. Where do we start? I pulled out my laptop, opening a new document. First, we research. I'm going to learn everything there is to know about this company, their challenges, their competitors, their future plans. Benjamin thinks he knows strategy. He hasn't seen anything yet. As I drove away from the building that morning, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back wasn't broken, she was awakened. Sometimes betrayal doesn't destroy you, it ignites something far more dangerous. Determination. 2 months after the fake interview disaster, I found myself standing in front of my bedroom mirror, adjusting a sleek black dress. Sticky notes and printouts covered every surface of my apartment. Company reports, news articles, and sustainability initiatives. I'd become a walking encyclopedia of Benjamin's company. "You sure about this?" Jasmine asked, perched on my bed. "Crashing a charity gala is pretty bold." "I'm not crashing," I corrected, applying a final coat of lipstick. "I bought a ticket, legitimately, with 3 months' worth of coffee money. Best investment I've ever made." I grabbed my clutch. The company's CEO, Virginia, always attends this environmental gala. It's my chance to get noticed, the right way this time. The venue sparkled with elegant decorations and even more elegant people. I recognized faces from my research, board members, department heads, and there, Virginia Price herself, commanding attention in a deep green gown. "Well, if it isn't my favorite stalker," a male voice said behind me. I turned to find a familiar face, one of the voices from that day in the hallway. "Weston," I said, remembering his name from my research. "Enjoying the party?" He raised an eyebrow. "You know my name? I make it my business to know things." I sipped my champagne. "Like how your department's struggling with the new sustainability requirements." His smile faltered. "How did you—" "The same way I know your team's missing deadlines because the current strategy ignores Gen Z's social media habits." I met his gaze. "I'm Benjamin's sister, by the way, the one he tried to humiliate." Recognition flickered across his face. "Look, about that day—" "Save it," I cut him off. "I'm not here for apologies. I'm here because I have solutions your company needs." Before he could respond, a commotion near the stage drew our attention. Virginia was preparing to give her speech. "The future of business lies in sustainable practices," she began. "But sustainability isn't just about the environment. It's about sustainable relationships, sustainable growth, and sustainable social impact," I whispered along with her, having memorized her previous speeches. Weston shot me a surprised look. "You really did do your homework." After the speech, I positioned myself near the drinks table, waiting for my moment. Virginia approached, and I deliberately reached for the same glass of water. "Oh, I'm sorry," I said, withdrawing my hand. "Please, go ahead," she smiled. I shook my head. "Actually, I'd love your thoughts on something first, if you have a moment. Your point about sustainable relationships resonated with me, especially regarding Gen Z consumer behavior." Her eyes sharpened with interest. "Go on." "Your recent initiatives are brilliant, but they're missing a crucial connection point." I pulled up a quick graph on my phone, one of many I'd prepared. "See this engagement drop? It's not about the message, it's about the medium." "Fascinating." Virginia leaned closer. "And you are?" "Leah, I'm actually—" "Virginia!" Benjamin's voice cut through the conversation like a knife. He appeared beside us, face flushed. "I see you've met my sister." "Your sister?" Virginia's eyebrows rose. "The one who interviewed for the marketing position?" Benjamin's smile turned brittle. "There must be some mistake. Leah was never seriously considered for—" "Actually," I interrupted smoothly, "I'd love to formally present these findings to your team. The data suggests you're losing millions in untapped market potential." Virginia studied me for a long moment, then pulled out her business card. "Email me your proposal. I'm intrigued." As she walked away, Benjamin grabbed my arm. "What do you think you're doing?" I pulled free. "Proving my worth. Isn't that what you wanted?" "You're making a fool of yourself," he hissed. "No, Benjamin. You already tried that approach, remember?" I straightened my dress. "Now I'm doing what you were always afraid I'd do. I'm showing everyone exactly what I'm capable of." "Is everything okay here?" Weston appeared at my side, his presence a silent warning to Benjamin. "Perfect," I smiled. Benjamin was just leaving. As my brother stormed off, Weston turned to me. You should know, there's more going on in the company than what's public. The sustainability department is just the tip of the iceberg. What do you mean? He glanced around nervously. Not here, but if you're serious about this, I might be able to help. I studied him carefully. Why would you help me? Let's just say I'm not a fan of watching talent get crushed by ego. He handed me his card. Call me tomorrow. As I left the gala that night, Virginia's business card felt like it was burning a hole in my clutch. Phase 1 of my plan had worked better than I'd hoped, but Weston's warning echoed in my mind. I pulled out my phone to text Jasmine. How did it go? She asked immediately. Better than expected, I replied, but I think I just stepped into something much bigger than sibling rivalry. The coffee shop buzzed with morning energy as I waited for Weston. My laptop displayed the proposal I'd stayed up all night perfecting for Virginia. 3 empty cups testified to my dedication. Someone's been busy, Weston said, sliding into the seat across from me. His tie was slightly crooked, and he had dark circles under his eyes. Rough morning? I asked. Rough week. Benjamin's been on a warpath since the gala. He ordered an espresso. But that's not why I asked to meet. I closed my laptop. You mentioned something bigger going on. The company's facing a crisis. He lowered his voice. The sustainability initiative. It's failing. Bad numbers are being covered up, and Benjamin's department is right in the middle of it. My heart raced. How do you know this? I work in data analytics. Numbers don't lie, even when people do. He pulled out his phone, showing me a spreadsheet. See these discrepancies? Someone's cooking the books to hide massive losses in the green energy division. And Benjamin knows about this? He's not just aware, he's actively helping cover it up. Your brother's gotten very good at making bad things look good on paper. My phone buzzed. An email from Virginia. Meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring your proposal. Perfect timing, Weston said. Virginia suspects something's wrong but can't prove it. Your presentation could be the perfect cover to expose everything. I shook my head. I wanted to prove my worth, not destroy my brother's career. He didn't show you the same courtesy, Weston reminded me. Before I could respond, Jasmine burst into the coffee shop, waving her phone. Leah, you need to see this. She thrust her phone at me. It showed an internal company memo, somehow leaked online. My heart stopped when I read it. Previous hiring decisions under review, I read aloud. All recent rejections to be reassessed for potential bias or misconduct. They're investigating the interviews. Including yours, Jasmine said triumphantly. Weston cursed under his breath. This changes everything. Benjamin will try to destroy any evidence of what he did. He already tried destroying me, I said, my voice hard. How'd that work out for him? My phone rang. Benjamin. I answered on speaker. What did you do? He demanded. Me? I'm not the one who faked performance complaints and rigged an interview. You have no idea what you're messing with, he hissed. Back off, Leah, for your own good. Or what? You'll try to humiliate me again? This isn't about you anymore. His voice cracked. There are bigger things at stake, like the cooked books in your department, I shot back. The line went silent for a moment. Who told you about that? You're not the only one who knows how to gather intel, brother. Listen to me very carefully. His voice turned deadly serious. You present that proposal tomorrow, and I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I laughed. Funny, I was about to say the same thing to you. After hanging up, I turned to find both Weston and Jasmine staring at me. That was badass, Jasmine grinned. And dangerous, Weston added. He's desperate now. Desperate people do stupid things. I opened my laptop again, pulling up my presentation. Then we better make sure my proposal is bulletproof. We worked through the afternoon, Weston providing insider insights while Jasmine helped polish the delivery. By evening, I had something that would either make my career or blow everything wide open. You sure about this? Jasmine asked as we packed up. Once you start this, there's no going back. Benjamin crossed that line when he decided to sabotage me, I replied. Besides, if what Weston says is true, this is bigger than our sibling rivalry. The company's sustainability claims affect real people making real investments. Weston touched my arm. Be careful tomorrow. Benjamin might try something desperate. Let him try, I said, but my confidence wavered as I remembered his threat. Later that night, as I rehearsed my presentation one final time, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Some family secrets should stay buried. Tomorrow's presentation would be a good time for a technical failure. I showed the message to Jasmine over FaceTime. They're trying to scare you, she said. Don't let them win. I stared at my reflection in the darkened window, remembering the humiliation of that first interview. They already played their best card, and I'm still standing. What's the plan? I smiled, thinking of the backup drives and cloud copies of my presentation. Tomorrow, I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve, the truth in all its uncomfortable glory. As I set my alarm for the next morning, another text came through. Last warning, back out now. I typed back a single response. See you tomorrow, brother. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like ascending to a gladiator arena. My presentation USB stick weighed heavy in my pocket, one of 3 copies I'd brought, along with cloud backup. Jasmine's voice echoed in my head. Paranoid? Maybe. Prepared? Definitely. The conference room door opened before I could reach for it. Benjamin stood there, looking perfectly composed in his designer suit. Good morning, sister dear, he smiled, all teeth. Need help setting up? I've got it covered, I replied, clutching my laptop closer. Insist, I insist. He reached for my computer. As head of the department, it's my responsibility to ensure everything runs smoothly. Step away from the laptop, Benjamin. Weston appeared behind me, coffee cups in hand. I'm handling the technical setup today, executive orders. Benjamin's smile flickered. Since when? Since Virginia specifically requested it this morning. Weston handed me a coffee. Speaking of which, shouldn't you be preparing your own presentation? As Benjamin stalked away, I whispered, Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Weston muttered. Look who's here. Joseph from HR walked in, his face as stern as I remembered from the interview. He was followed by several board members, then Virginia herself. Leah, Virginia smiled warmly. We're eager to hear your thoughts on our sustainability initiatives. I connected my laptop while Weston stood guard. The screen flickered to life, showing my title slide. So far, so good. Before we begin, Benjamin interrupted, I think it's important to note that my sister has no official capacity here. Your sister, Virginia cut in, has demonstrated remarkable insight into our challenges. Please, Leah, proceed. I took a deep breath and launched into my presentation. Your current sustainability program isn't just underperforming, it's actively misleading stakeholders. The room tensed. I clicked to the next slide, showing a graph. These are your published figures, I continued. And these, another click, are the real numbers, buried in subsidiary reports and creative accounting. Benjamin's chair scraped back. This is ridiculous. She has no access to internal... Actually, Weston stood up. These figures are accurate. My department verified them this morning. Virginia leaned forward, her eyes intense. Continue, Leah. I walked them through the discrepancies, the hidden losses, the manipulated data. With each slide, Benjamin's face grew paler. Joseph scribbled furious notes. Then my screen went black. Technical difficulties? Benjamin smirked. Funny thing about preparation, I smiled back, pulling out my USB. I always bring backups. Before I could plug it in, Benjamin snatched it. This is corporate espionage. She's trying to... Upload to cloud backup complete. Weston's voice rang out. He held up his phone. Everything's already shared with the board's secure server. Virginia stood up. I think we need a break. Benjamin, Joseph, my office. Now. As they filed out, Weston touched my shoulder. You okay? I nodded, though my hands were shaking. Did you see his face? The face of someone watching their house of cards collapse? Yeah. He checked his phone. Jasmine's downstairs. She's been texting me updates about the company's stock price all morning. Why are you helping me? I finally asked. Really? Weston sat on the edge of the table. 2 years ago, I noticed similar discrepancies. Tried to report them. Benjamin buried my concerns and had me transferred to a dead-end position. I've been waiting for a chance to set things right. The door burst open. Benjamin stormed in, his composure shattered. Happy now, he snarled. You've ruined everything. You ruined it yourself, I replied. I just exposed the truth. The truth? He laughed bitterly. The truth is, you've always been like this. Little Miss Perfect. Always having to prove you're better than everyone else. No, Benjamin. The truth is, you've always been so afraid of being outshined that you'd rather cheat than compete fairly. Compete fairly, in this industry. He stepped closer. You have no idea how things really work. Actually, Virginia's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway, Joseph behind her. I think Leah understands exactly how things should work. Benjamin, security will escort you to clear out your desk. You're firing me over some cooked numbers, over fraud, deliberate misconduct, and creating a hostile work environment. Virginia turned to me. Leah, we'll need you to stay. There's much to discuss. As security led Benjamin away, he stopped beside me. Congratulations, sis. You won. I hope it was worth destroying our family. I watched him leave, victory tasting more bitter than I'd expected. Weston squeezed my shoulder. You did the right thing, he said softly. Then why doesn't it feel like winning? Because it's not over yet, Virginia called from the doorway. We need someone to clean up this mess, someone who understands both the problems and the solutions. She smiled. Interested in a job, Leah? 1 week into my new role as Sustainability Strategy Director, I found myself staring at Benjamin's old office, now mine. The nameplate had just been changed, and the irony wasn't lost on me. Still feels surreal? Weston asked, leaning against the doorframe. Everything in here screams Benjamin, I said, picking up a framed photo of our family from his desk drawer. Mom, Dad, Benjamin and me at his college graduation. God, what am I going to tell our parents? They called the office again this morning, Weston said quietly. Benjamin hasn't been answering his phone. My stomach twisted. Have you heard anything? Just rumors. He's been spotted at competitor companies trying to... A commotion outside interrupted us. Benjamin's voice carried through the office. Where is she? Leah. I stepped out of the office to find my brother, disheveled and unshaven, being blocked by security. Let him through, I said. The guards hesitated but stepped aside. Benjamin stormed toward me, his tie loose and hair unkempt. Enjoying your victory? He spat. My apartment's being repossessed, my reputation's ruined, and Mum and Dad won't stop calling. You did this to yourself, I replied, but my voice wavered. Did I? He laughed harshly. You know what's funny? I only sabotaged that interview because I knew you'd be better at this job than me. And look, I was right. Benjamin, save it. You want to know what it feels like to be the family disappointment. Well, now I know how you felt all those years, living in my shadow. Your shadow? I stepped closer. I never lived in your shadow. You just convinced yourself I did. Really? Perfect Leah with her perfect grades and perfect career. Perfect, I exploded. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college while you coasted on Dad's connections. I earned everything I have. The office had gone silent, everyone watching our family drama unfold. And now you've earned my life too, he said bitterly. Congratulations. That's enough. Virginia's voice cut through the tension. Benjamin, you're trespassing. You don't understand, he turned to her. She's my little sister. I was supposed to protect her, guide her. Instead, His voice broke. Instead, you tried to destroy her career, Virginia finished, and in doing so, revealed your own misconduct. Security, please escort him out. As the guards approached, Benjamin pulled something from his pocket, a USB drive. You think you found all the evidence? He dangled it. There's enough dirt on here to bury half the executive board. Weston stepped forward. Don't do this, man. Why not? My career's already over. Might as well go out with a bang. I moved between Benjamin and the guards. Wait, everyone, please give us a minute. When the others reluctantly backed away, I faced my brother. Remember when I was 10 and I broke Mom's favorite vase? I asked softly. He frowned. What? You took the blame, said you did it while playing ball inside. You were grounded for 2 weeks. You were crying, he said quietly. I couldn't stand seeing you cry. What happened to that brother, the one who protected me? His hand holding the USB drive trembled. He grew up, realized the world doesn't reward kindness. No. I took a step closer. He got scared of not being enough, just like I was scared when you sabotaged my interview. Leah. But we're not kids anymore, Benjamin. This USB drive, it won't fix anything. It'll just hurt more people, including yourself. Tears welled in his eyes. I don't know how to fix this. Start by giving me the drive. I held out my hand. Let me help you, like you used to help me. The office remained deathly quiet as Benjamin stared at the USB drive. Finally, his shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, he whispered, placing it in my palm. I'm so sorry, Leah. As security gently led him out, Virginia approached me. That USB drive could be valuable evidence, she said. I looked at the small device in my hand. Or it could be blank, a desperate man's last bluff. She studied me carefully. And if it's not blank, then maybe, I met her gaze, maybe there's a way to fix things without destroying more lives, including my brother's. Virginia nodded slowly. You have 1 week to propose a solution. Make it count. After she left, Weston touched my arm. You okay? I looked at the family photo still on my desk, then at the USB drive that could either salvage or shatter what remained of my relationship with Benjamin. No, I admitted, but I will be. First, I need to make a call. To whom? I picked up my phone. Our parents. It's time they knew the truth, all of it. The boardroom hummed with tension as I connected my laptop to the projector. Every executive seat was filled, including one by my father, who sat stone-faced beside Virginia. After my call home, he'd been appointed as an independent advisor to oversee the company's restructuring. You don't have to do this, Weston whispered, helping me set up. Yes, I do. I straightened my blazer. It's the only way forward. The door opened, and Benjamin walked in, escorted by security. He looked better than last week, clean-shaven, suit pressed. Our eyes met briefly before he took his assigned seat. Thank you all for coming, I began. Last week's revelations about our sustainability program exposed serious issues. Today, I'm presenting not just problems, but solutions. I clicked to the first slide. The USB drive my brother tried to use as leverage. I reviewed its contents. The fraud went deeper than we thought, but it also revealed opportunities. Benjamin shifted uncomfortably. Dad's expression remained unreadable. Instead of hiding our sustainability failures, I continued, we have a chance to transform them into industry-leading successes. Here's how. The next hour was the most intense of my career. I laid out a comprehensive plan, transparent reporting, innovative green technologies, and community engagement programs. With each slide, I could feel the room's energy shifting. This all sounds promising, Virginia interjected, but the cost will be offset by the tax incentives and increased investor confidence, I finished. Plus, we'll avoid potential SEC penalties, which would be substantial, Dad finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of 40 years in corporate law. The evidence on that drive could trigger federal investigations. Benjamin stood up abruptly. You showed him the files? She showed me everything, Dad replied, including your original interview sabotage, son. The room went silent. Benjamin's face flushed. The question, I pressed on, isn't about past mistakes. It's about future solutions. Benjamin? All eyes turned to my brother as I gestured for him to join me at the front. What are you doing? He whispered. Giving you a chance to fix this, I replied. You know these programs better than anyone. Help me make them work. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then, slowly, he turned to face the board. Leah's right, he said, his voice gaining strength. I helped hide these problems because I thought exposure would destroy us. But her plan, it could actually work. The renewable energy division I've been managing. We've been sitting on breakthrough technology, afraid to implement it because of cost concerns. He grabbed a marker and started sketching on the whiteboard. If we redirect funds from these shell programs into actual development, for the next 30 minutes, Benjamin and I tag-teamed the presentation. It felt like we were kids again, finishing each other's sentences, building on each other's ideas. The board members leaned forward, engaged. This is impressive, Virginia said finally, but it requires complete transparency about past misconduct. I'll take full responsibility, Benjamin straightened. No more covers, no more lies. Not alone, you won't, I interjected. We do this as a team or not at all. Dad cleared his throat. The board will need time to consider. No, Virginia stood up. We don't need time. We need action. Leah, Benjamin, you have full authorization to implement this plan, effective immediately. After the meeting, Benjamin caught my arm as others filed out. Why? He asked simply. Because you were right about one thing. I am better at this job than you. But you're better at it than you think. We just needed to stop competing and start collaborating. I don't deserve this chance. Probably not, I smiled. Consider it payback for that vase. Dad approached us, his expression softening for the first time. Your mother would be proud. Well, proud and horrified, but mostly proud. Dad, Benjamin started. Save it for dinner, Dad cut him off. Your mother's cooking tonight. She expects both of you there. No excuses. As he left, Weston appeared with Jasmine, who'd been waiting outside. So? Jasmine bounced excitedly. How did it go? We're about to find out, I nodded toward Virginia, who was walking over. One question, Virginia said, looking between me and Benjamin. Can you two actually work together without killing each other? Benjamin glanced at me. We managed not to for the first 20 years of our lives. Most of them, anyway, I added. Virginia smiled. Good, because you're both going to be very busy. The press conference is in 1 hour. As she walked away, Benjamin turned to me. Press conference. Part of the transparency initiative, I grinned. Hope you're ready to face the cameras, brother. Together? He asked, extending his hand. I took it. Together. Camera flashes exploded as Benjamin and I walked onto the small stage in the company's press room. Virginia stood at the podium, commanding the attention of dozens of reporters. Before we begin, Virginia announced, I want to introduce our new leadership team for the Sustainability Division. Leah and Benjamin will be co-directing our renewed environmental initiatives. A reporter shot up his hand. Is it true the previous sustainability reports contained fraudulent data? Benjamin stepped forward before I could speak. Yes, he said firmly. And as the former department head, I take full responsibility for those misrepresentations. The room erupted. Cameras clicked frantically. What we're announcing today, I cut in, is not just an admission of past mistakes, but a revolutionary new approach to corporate environmental responsibility. And we're supposed to trust the same leadership that covered up the problems? Another reporter challenged. No, I replied. You're supposed to verify everything we do from now on. That's why we're implementing total transparency protocols, including live data tracking accessible to the public. Weston, manning the presentation screen behind us, pulled up the new dashboard. Real-time sustainability metrics flickered across the display. Starting today, Benjamin added, every aspect of our environmental impact will be monitored and reported in real time. No more quarterly reports that can be manipulated, no more hidden data. A familiar face stood up. a journalist I recognized from my research. Sources say there was internal conflict between you two. How can you lead together given your history? I glanced at Benjamin, who nodded slightly. My brother and I learned the hard way that competition without integrity destroys more than it builds, I said. Our new approach is built on collaboration, not conflict. And accountability, Benjamin stepped closer to the podium. 3 months ago, I sabotaged my sister's job interview out of professional jealousy. Today, she's showing all of us, a better way forward. The admission sent another wave of murmurs through the crowd. Dad, standing at the back of the room, gave us a subtle thumbs up. Virginia returned to the podium. We're announcing a complete restructuring of our environmental programs, including a $500 million investment in new green technologies. The questions flew fast after that. Benjamin and I tag-teamed the responses, each playing to our strengths. He handled the technical details. I managed the strategic vision. Together, we painted a picture of transformation that had the reporters leaning forward in their seats. Suddenly, Joseph from HR burst into the room, whispering urgently to Virginia. She frowned, then gestured for us to wrap up. "What's wrong?" I whispered as we left the stage. "Stock price is fluctuating wildly," Virginia explained, leading us to her office. "The market's not sure whether to panic about the fraud admission or celebrate the new initiative." Inside her office, Weston was already pulling up financial data. The numbers bounced between red and green. "We need to stabilize this," Benjamin said, loosening his tie, "before the shareholders panic." "Already on it." I pulled out my phone, dialing Jasmine. "Remember that social media strategy we discussed? Launch it, now." Within minutes, our new transparency dashboard was trending online. Real investors were praising our honesty. Environmental groups were cautiously optimistic. The stock began to stabilize. "Impressive teamwork," Virginia smiled. "But the real test starts tomorrow. The board wants daily progress reports." "They'll have them," Benjamin promised. "No more secrets." As the crisis subsided, Dad appeared in the doorway. "Your mother's waiting. Family dinner, remember?" The drive home was quiet until Benjamin spoke. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to reveal some master plan to destroy me completely." "That was never my goal," I replied. "I just wanted to prove I belonged here." "You more than proved that." He smiled sadly. "I'm sorry it took all this for me to see it." Mom was waiting on the porch when we pulled up. Her eyes were red from crying, but she opened her arms to both of us. "My brilliant, stupid children," she hugged us tight. "Come eat before the lasagna gets cold." Inside, over Mom's legendary cooking, we began the harder work of rebuilding our family. The conversation was awkward at first, then gradually warmed as old stories and shared memories broke down the walls we'd built. "A toast," Dad raised his glass, "to second chances, and third and fourth," Mom added, making us laugh. My phone buzzed, a message from Virginia. "Stock closed up 3%. Well done, both of you. Ready for tomorrow?" I looked at Benjamin, who was helping Mom clear the dishes, chatting animatedly about the new solar panel technology we'd be implementing. "We're ready," I texted back. Then, after a moment's thought, added, "All of us," because sometimes, I realized, the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemy. It's about transforming them into an ally. The autumn breeze rustled through the rooftop garden as I inspected the new solar panels. Our sustainability showcase had become my favorite spot in the building, a living testament to the changes we'd implemented. "There you are," Jasmine called, stepping out of the elevator. "The documentary crew is waiting downstairs." "Tell them I need 5 minutes. You said that 20 minutes ago." She joined me at the railing. "Nervous about the interview?" "Not nervous, just—" I gestured at the garden, taking it all in. The door opened again, and Benjamin appeared. "The crew's getting restless. Also, Virginia wants us to review the quarterly numbers before the interview." I pulled out my tablet, showing him the latest data. "Already done. We're up 40% across all environmental metrics. Look at you two, Jasmine grinned, actually working together without trying to commit corporate homicide. The day is still young, Benjamin joked, but his smile was genuine. My phone buzzed, a text from Mum. Good luck today. Dad and I are recording the interview. Love you both. We should head down, Benjamin said, checking his watch. Ready to tell our story? I took one last look at the garden. Almost. There's something I need to say first. He raised an eyebrow. Sounds ominous. I found this in my desk yesterday. I pulled out a crumpled paper, his original complaint about my job interview. The one that started everything. His face fell. Leah, I'm framing it. What? It's going on my office wall, I explained, to remind me that sometimes our worst moments can lead to our best opportunities. Benjamin was quiet for a moment. I have something for you too. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. My official promotion recommendation. You're being considered for COO. I stared at the envelope. But that was your goal. You've been working toward that position for years. And you're better suited for it, he said simply. I've learned to recognize that now. Jasmine cleared her throat. As touching as this is, we really need to... One more minute, I promised, turning back to Benjamin. Remember what you said at that first press conference, about competition without integrity? He nodded. Well, I'm not taking the COO position unless we're both up for consideration. Fair competition this time. You'd risk losing it. I'd risk winning it the right way. I held out my hand. Partners? He clasped it firmly. Partners. The documentary interview went smoothly. We sat side by side, telling our story. The sabotage, the revenge, the redemption. The interviewer seemed particularly interested in our current dynamic. So you've completely forgiven each other? She asked skeptically. Forgiveness isn't a destination, I replied. It's a daily choice. Like sustainability, it takes constant work and commitment. And trust, Benjamin added, which has to be earned back one day at a time. After the crew packed up, Virginia called us into her office. Weston was already there, grinning. The board just approved your joint proposal, Virginia announced. The international expansion of our sustainability program is green-lit. Both of us? Benjamin asked. Both of you, she confirmed. They were impressed by how you've turned rivalry into partnership. Speaking of which, she slid 2 folders across her desk. These are your COO candidacy papers. The board wants to consider you both. I caught Benjamin's eye and smiled. Looks like we get our fair competition after all. About that, Weston interrupted. The board had an interesting idea. They're considering splitting the COO role. One focusing on operations, one on innovation. They can do that? I asked. Virginia nodded. They can when they have 2 exceptional candidates who work better together than apart. Later, as Benjamin and I rode the elevator down, he turned to me. You know, when you first came back for revenge, I thought you were going to destroy everything I'd built. I did too, I admitted. Funny how things work out. Mum's planning a celebration dinner, he said. Says she's inviting the whole family, including Aunt Susan, the one who always asks when we're getting married. Especially her. He grinned. Consider it karma for all the times I threw you under the bus at family gatherings. The elevator doors opened to the lobby, where Jasmine and Weston were waiting. Ready for dinner? Jasmine asked. I looked at my brother, my rival turned partner, and felt a warmth that had nothing to do with revenge or victory. Actually, I said, we're ready for whatever comes next, because sometimes the best endings aren't about winning or losing. They're about finding a better way forward, together.